Roy Smith is our grain market analyst this week. In 2013, U.S. farmers harvested 13.9 billion bushels of corn, more than any other year in the past. The top mark in soybean production was reached in 2009, when growers reaped nearly 3.4 billion bushels. On Monday, the USDA will release its final totals from the 2014 harvest. If previous estimates hold, those numbers will easily set new highs in both corn and soybeans. Ahead of next week's report, we talked with Roy Wednesday afternoon to get his thoughts on corn and soybean markets. Tell me how corn and soybean markets have entered 2015.
It's always interesting around the end of the previous year and the beginning of the new year when a lot of the traders are maybe taking a little bit of vacation and the trading is a little thin, and so we get some sort of wild moves that you wouldn't expect just based on supply and demand, and we certainly have had that. Monday this week we had beans 70 cents higher, beans 37 cents higher, I guess it was, and corn had a relatively good day. It wasn't anywhere nearly that good, but it's kind of encouraging that with the huge crop that everybody says is out there and stacks of corn in some cases piled on the ground at elevators, and yet those elevators are moving that corn and being able to keep the bid up there, and so I say it's pretty encouraging in general.
Update me on where basis is around this area.
Basis just has varied so much. If you look at the bid offer, or excuse me, the bids on the local elevators, they've held in there, maybe improved a little bit, but every once in a while we'll hear stories about one of the processors really needing some corn pretty bad, and he's willing to bid just about anything to get it. And that's a real opportunity for farmers who can actually deliver to these processors.
You've been updating your May soybean charts. Tell me why that's important because of what it shows.
Well, the long-term soybean charts are pretty much what I go on when I make decisions in terms of making sales. I also trade a little spec account that kind of helps me keep me on track to see if there's anything unusual coming, and I'd say it's very encouraging this year for a couple of reasons. One of them is that I compare the most recent 5 years to the previous 20 years, and those two charts look almost identical. In other words, if you go back to the early 2000s, we saw quite a change in the soybean market as beans coming from South America weren't as much competition as most people thought they would be. The other thing is that I do buy and sell on a small spec account just to be able to track how the seasonal price trends have done. And in 2014 they did extremely well, better than I would have ever hoped, just buying when the trend is up and selling when the trend is down.
You were also updating your charts for the dead cat bounce of 2014. Tell me about that.
Right, the dead cat bounce in 2014, and this is on my website, by the way, soyroy.com. Anybody can go on the website and look at it. It tracked almost perfect with what we expect in the dead cat bounce. The harvest low on the average runs October 2nd. This year it was September 26th, so that's like 4 or 5 trading days. You can't get much better than that when it comes to commodities. We saw the dead cat bounce come right out of that harvest low, and the dead cat bounce last year was good for about $1.50 a bushel. So people who followed that dead cat bounce and pulled the trigger at the appropriate time made some pretty good money just by some short-term storage. And maybe it's going to go up to $15, I don't know. But I do know that it's worth $1.50 more than it was when we started harvest, and I'm willing to take that and say thank you.
These two charts that we've been talking about, does it give you any indication of what you should do if you still have some old crop corn or beans left in the bin?
It really does. You can use those charts for a variety of things, and one of the things that you can do is you look at your situation now with old crop, for instance, with old crop corn in the bin, which these are, and basically they say if you haven't sold already, no point selling now. You just as well stay with it through at least through the end of March. And is there any guarantee on the fact that the charts are going to work this time? Well, no, there's no guarantee. But if you look historically at the dead cat bounce and how reliable that's been, you have to think that those other charts are probably pretty good as well. And they're a good tool. You know, I keep saying there's no guarantee, but if you're looking for something that's going to be helpful in helping you make a decision when to sell and how much to sell, they're as good as anything I've seen.